I like to put out my damage dice, my attack dice. I've got my D20, I've got my D4 for my dagger, but then we start with the D6s. We start stacking those D6s as I'm able to cast Fireball or Lightning Bolt. And as a Magic user in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, you know you have arrived when you can cast Fireball and or Lightning Bolt, that the damage stacks. We see this with other players. You've got your dice pool, so you're going to attack with this weapon, and then you add this bonus, and then this elemental damage. Roll the dice, shake them up, and see the damage that you create. The rogue is kind of interesting. You look at the higher levels, and it seems like that's all you have. You've got your D8 for your primary weapon. You've got your D6 for your offhand. You've got 2 D4s for fire and shock damage, and then you've got another D6 for some feat from some tome that we don't even know about. That's all you have? But then the rogue is like, but multiply that by 8. You're like, by 8? Yeah, sneak attack damage plus bonus plus this synergy plus this times 8. And the rogue is just doing, maybe not 8, but 6, but it's definitely up there. The rogue is doing tremendous damage, but it requires a lot of skill to play and pull off. As a dungeon master for new thieves and rogues, depending if it's AD&D or D&D Modern, I give them a little leeway because it's intoxicating with the potential for sneak attack damage, but it's not always as easy to pull off. And I don't directly target the rogue. I don't necessarily know if they're hidden, if they're hiding and they're making their way up to deliver that sneak attack damage. Then I'm not going to reposition the encounter or my monsters to counter that unless they can make that spot check or they're aware of it. So from that perspective, I want to switch and say as both a player and as a DM, playing a rogue sneak attack, yes, damage is important. So you've got your base damage based on the weapon. You've got your multipliers based on level and feats, depending on the addition, to jack up your sneak attack damage. And this assumes that you're able to deliver it, whether it's a construct or undead. It has to be vulnerable to it. We're going to absolutely make that assumption because that's the whole cornerstone of the Tactica, the focus of it. Then at some point, you're going to want to add some bonuses, +1, +2 for magic weapons, fire, ice, shock, keen for increased criticals, whatever it's going to be, those dice are going to increase. This isn't a criticism, but you have to hit. You have to hit. You've got this massive alpha damage. You've got like this cascade of dice ready to tumble down your dice tower. You have to hit. And I'm not talking about where you roll a 1 or a 2. We've all had those moments where you're like, Fritz, do I really need to roll the D20? Look, before I even roll it, I've got like, a +18. It's to hit. Like I'm jacked up like crazy. You could get a 1 if you're playing with critical failures, or just a 1, 2, or 3. You could always come in low enough. It could happen. Now, the math hammer, the theory hammer, the odds of it, yes, probably not. But with a rogue, you have one shot. With a thief, you have one shot. You need to absolutely hit. So what can you do to increase your chances to hit? 2 ways, depending on the rules. Of course, bonuses. We might see this with a short sword +1. You get the +1. We see strength bonuses. We see, if it's AD&D second, we see proficiency bonuses. We see weapon specializations. We see focus. If you take a focus feat, D&D 3.x, kind of D&D Modern, where if I focus in a weapon, I can get a +1. All those little +1s, not to mention buffs, make a tremendous difference. It's almost like as a rogue, you need your buff toolkit. So before you get that sneak attack damage, you're drinking whatever potions or activating whatever possibilities, you need to hit. That's the focus. When I play a rogue, that's what I focus on. When I'm playing a thief, if I'm going to go for sneak attack and make that a primary delivery system, I need to be conscious of stacking so I can have the best chance. It is D&D. It is a D20. We're going to roll the dice. Anything can happen, but I can't take advantage of those modifiers if I don't hit. The other reason why this is important, again, going back to the DM, I'm going to be making spot checks. I'm going to be making passive perception checks. I might not be aware that you're making your way up the flank and you're getting into position to sneak attack. But as soon as you make that attack and I'm aware, I'm going to attack you. You're right there. As soon as you're aware, then we're ready to go. And the Thief/Rogue, generally speaking, does not have the armor class to continue one-on-one combat or being in that situation, does not really have the pool of hit points. The sneak attack damage either needs to kill it, cripple it, or deal the damage and get the heck out of there. So you might only have one chance. Usually I'd say the synergy of a rogue in a party is let the fighters do some damage, let other characters do some damage, rain damage, arcane damage, divine damage. About halfway through battle, the rogue goes in action and goes up where rolling average on the sneak attack dice with all the combos, you most likely will defeat your target. That's when you want to deliver. Or depending on the scenario, if it's like a mage or someone that is in command or commanding constructs, you need to really deal some damage so that the fighters can get up there and finish it off, then you need to go ahead, deal that damage, and get the heck out of there. Which means, generally speaking, either for your safety or the efficiency of the Tactica, you got one shot at that sneak attack damage before everyone's onto you, which feeds back into the importance of hitting. So playing a rogue, playing a thief, playing an assassin, playing that type of sneak attack damage character, absolutely, the damage is key. Stack the damage, elemental damage, various modifiers, various feats, various proficiencies, but do not overlook hitting. Boost your damage to hit, boost your ability to hit as best you can naturally, and then also look to bring in buffs and potions just when you're ready. I'm not talking about popping off all the time and spending your coin, but ready for those moments when you need it. You kind of follow that Tactica, and from back behind the DM screen, it's going to be an interesting challenge. You're going to be pretty proficient and pretty solid.